So, getting into long-term strategies for surviving. First, I encourage you to know and print out your HR policies and what they are regarding reasonable accommodation, paid time off or PTO, and short-term disability. As an asterisk, I recommend you print them off because some institutions and nonprofits have been known to change those on the fly and pretend that they've always been that way. So print them out. Um, Also, get to know them because as you start going through this and as your body and mind are struggling, you need to know what your rights are in terms of what reasonable accommodations are from an ADA perspective, how much PTO or sick time you can take off if that's paid, if you have the option of taking it unpaid if necessary, and for short-term disability for organizations that are large enough to have this as an option. um, Check out what your options are in terms of if it is paid or unpaid. In fact, just to back up for a little bit, I think short-term disability is available in every state, but it varies as to what that looks like. And at your organization, it will vary as to whether or not that is paid short-term disability. For myself, I went on short-term disability from one of my traditional employment jobs because my health had deteriorated that much. As you heard, there was quite a smorgasbord of ailments one could choose from. When I was filing for short-term disability, they would only allow me to pick one ailment to put forward for someone else to judge if it was bad enough. And as a tip, I guess, from learning, going through that experience, my anxiety was actually more convincing as a debilitating ailment than my documented chronic pain. So it doesn't make sense, but that was the structure and that's what I learned. So if you're to that point in considering that, hopefully that little kernel of knowledge is helpful. And also, just before I move on, short-term disability can have such a stigma to it. Organizations and HR especially, at least in my experience, was set up to dissuade and shame people from taking short-term disability, which is supposed to be a benefit offered and to be used when needed. So I'm saying if you need it, that is enough. And just know that you may receive some of that as backlash. And it is unfortunate and highly unethical, but we're in a toxic situation here, especially if you're experiencing burnout. I do not anticipate your HR department or your boss handling a short-term disability request with any sort of grace, let alone support. Second, you will need to get the fuck out of there. So if you are feeling burnout, if it is impacting your health, you will need to leave. Um, you could leave for a just for now job, like a job at a mall or retail situation, for example. There's no shame in getting a just for now job if you need it. You could also similarly do like a lateral job move, like it may not be a perceived um, position upgrade, so to speak. There's no shame in that either. Sometimes you just need to change your scenery, or it could be a complete career change. And for us in the field, we are here because we love it, for better or worse. And it can be so difficult emotionally to get to a point where we feel okay leaving the field. And that is compounded when we have student loan debt still from education required to get us into this field. That is something that I struggled with before, when I was still in traditional employment. And I know many of our colleagues are struggling with that now. And that's all to say you're definitely not alone, and there is no shame for you leaving this field because it is unhealthy. And just to continue any of the restorative practices that you have put into place, continue using those moving forward to help that improvement of your emotional, mental, and physical well being.